Good evening. Welcome to Asia Newsline. I'm Lepakshi Khurana. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Monday, the 9th of October. Indian court commutes death sentences of 11 convicts to life term in 2002 train burning case. Daughter and son-in-law of Pakistan's ousted premier granted bail in corruption reference. And new US helicopters mark major change for Afghan Air Force. And now for all the details. A top operative of Pakistan-based terror group Jaish-e-Mohammad was killed in an encounter on Monday by security forces in India's northern Jammu and Kashmir province.
Security forces on Monday gunned down a militant after a brief gun battle in Baramulla district of India's northern Jammu and Kashmir province. The militant, identified as Khalid, was a top operative of Pakistan-based Jaish-e-Mohammad terror group in the Kashmir Valley. Acting on intelligence inputs, the security forces cordoned off an area they believed the militant was hiding in and neutralized him after a brief gun battle.
आगा कोई 500-600 मीटर गांव के अंदर घुस गया और उस ब्लड ट्रेल पे हमने उस घर को घेर लिया और उस घर में ये ब्रीफ एनकाउंटर के बाद मारा गया। सर रिकवरी क्या है सर?
India accuses Pakistan of training and arming militants and helping them infiltrate across the line of control, a de facto border that divides Kashmir. Pakistan denies those allegations.
Meanwhile, an Indian court commuted the death sentence of 11 convicts in the 2002 Daugher train carnage case in western Gujarat province to life imprisonment on Monday. 59 pilgrims were killed in the incident, triggering the worst communal riots in the history of the province.
An Indian court on Monday commuted death sentence awarded to 11 convicts in the 2002 Daugher train burning case in western Gujarat province to life imprisonment. The Gujarat High Court also upheld the life sentence awarded by the Special Investigation Team or SIT court to 20 others in the case. The SIT court had on March 1, 2011 convicted 31 persons.
Honorable High Court has confirmed the conviction of all the 31 accused persons, but the 11 persons who were awarded death sentence, that is commuted to life imprisonment.
As many as 59 Hindu pilgrims were killed when a mob attacked the train near Godhra railway station in February 27, 2002, triggering the worst communal riots in the history of the province.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday interacted with oil and gas CEOs and experts from across the world in capital New Delhi. During the meeting, he said that the status of the energy sector in India was highly uneven and the scope for reform in many areas still exists.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday stressed that the status of the energy sector in India was highly uneven and the scope for reform in many areas still exists. In an interaction with the oil and gas CEOs and experts from across the world in capital New Delhi, he welcomed the suggestion made for a comprehensive energy policy. According to an official release by Prime Minister's Office or PMO, he flagged the potential of biomass energy and also invited participation and joint ventures in coal gasification. Many participants strongly recommended the inclusion of gas and electricity in the Goods and Services Tax or GST framework. GST, launched on July 1, is India's biggest tax reform in the 70 years since independence from British. It replaced over a dozen federal and state levies and unified a $2 trillion economy and 1.3 billion people into one of the world's biggest common markets. In the latest development, Indian government eased tax rules for small and medium-sized companies on Friday in a bid to address growing criticism of its stewardship of Asia's third-largest economy.
Moving on to news from Pakistan, an accountability court on Monday granted bail to Pakistan's ousted Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's daughter and son-in-law in a corruption case. The court will now hear the case on October 13th.
Maryam Nawaz, daughter of Pakistan's ousted Premier Nawaz Sharif, and her husband, retired Captain Mohammad Safdar, were granted bail on Monday in a corruption case filed against them. The couple, who appeared before an accountability court, was also ordered to submit surety bonds worth 5 million rupees each. The court has now set October 13 as the next date of hearing. The accountability court also declared Sharif's sons, Hassan and Hussain Nawaz, proclaimed offenders for repeatedly failing to appear before the court in connection with the case. The court is hearing a total of 3 corruption cases against the Sharif family filed by National Accountability Bureau after the Supreme Court's judgment in the Panama Papers case.
Meanwhile, a conference highlighting human rights violations in Balochistan was recently held in Washington. The participants discussed the issue of extrajudicial killings and forced disappearances in the region.
The World Baloch Organization, or WBO, recently convened a conference on the deteriorating human rights situation in Balochistan and the geopolitical complexities affecting the region. The conference, which took place in Washington, was attended by educationists and human rights activists. The participants discussed the issue of extrajudicial killings, kidnappings and forced disappearances in the region by the Pakistani authorities.
You don't care. Grab the people, take them, and never seem to be, families will never be able to see these people. Bodies occasionally shows up in streets with severe torture marks. It's called kill and dump operation. You have disappeared this person, but they threw this body to terrorize the local population.
The participants also discussed about the construction of multi-billion-dollar China-Pakistan Economic Corridor project in the region. They threw light on the lives of displaced locals. The panel claimed the project has only brought death and destruction for the local people instead of economic opportunities.
In news from Afghanistan, a number of the Afghan Air Force pilots trained to fly the new US-made military helicopters have good things to say about their new helicopters. Afghanistan on Saturday welcomed the arrival of helicopters, beginning a process that will transform the country's Air Force.
Afghan Air Force or AAF pilots who have been trained to fly the new US-made UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters have only good things to say about it. The pilots said the Black Hawks were easy to fly and light on fuel. They also welcomed the addition to the range of helicopters used by the Air Force and said the Black Hawks were a huge improvement on what they had.
تفاوت عمده‌ای که داره فقط مدرن است و از نگاه دیگه با مصارف کم میتونیم عین پروازها را که می-17 یا Mi-17 اجرا میکرد اجرا کنیم.
Afghanistan on Saturday welcomed the arrival of new Black Hawk helicopters, beginning a process that will transform the young Afghan Air Force. At the ceremony at Kandahar airfield in southern Afghanistan, Afghan President Ashraf Ghani formally accepted the new helicopters.
امروز روز تاریخی است که ما دوباره دارای قوای هوایی میشیم که پاسخگوی تقاضا و اجماع قوای امنیتی و دفاعی ماست.
The Black Hawk helicopters cost almost $8 million a piece. This step forms a major part of the US-led military coalition's training efforts in the country, which was expanded under proposals approved by US President Donald Trump in August.
Afghan bodybuilder on Sunday won gold at the 9th World Bodybuilding and Physique Sports Championships held in Mongolia. The bodybuilding champion defeated bodybuilders from around 100 countries and also bagged the Mr. Muscle title in the contest.
Afghanistan's bodybuilding champion Ahmad Yasin Saleh Qadri won gold in the World Bodybuilding and Physique Sports Championship held in Mongolia's capital Ulaanbaatar on Sunday. Bodybuilders from 100 countries took part at this year's Ulaanbaatar contest, where Qadri also won the Mr. Muscle title. This comes 2 months after Qadri won gold in Afghanistan Championships to become Mr. Afghanistan 2017.
Also in August, he won gold in the 90 kg weight category in the Asian Bodybuilding and Fitness Championships in South Korea.
In news from Nepal, the 5th round of Eminent Persons Group or the EPG meeting with representatives from Nepal and India concluded in Nepal's capital Katmandu on Sunday. During the meeting, the Nepali side promised to reinforce the prevailing and previous treaties between the two countries and said that they have made the attempts over the time. The EPG was formed with an aim to suggest the governments to strengthen the bilateral ties and review the past treaties and agreements, including the 1950 treaty between Nepal and India after a detailed study. The next round of EPG meeting is scheduled to be held in India's capital, New Delhi, on 11th and 12th of November. Models walked the ramp at the 9th season of the India Runway Week in capital New Delhi over the weekend. Young Indian and international designers showcased the latest winter and festive 2017 collection during the event. Well, that's all we have for you from South Asia this evening. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/Asia Newsline and follow us on Twitter @Asia Newsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.